The rain had been falling for so long that the sea and the sky had become the same thing, one vast, gray sheet stretching forever. Jonas stood at the edge of the dock, his boots sinking into the soaked planks, his coat clinging to him like a second skin. The water beneath was black, slick, and restless. And through the fog that blanketed the harbor, the outline of the black ship slowly emerged again, like a ghost rising from its own grave. He had seen it before, years ago. And he had sworn never to return. But debts have a way of chasing men, especially those who owe more than money. Jonas knew that tonight's meeting wasn't just about work. It was about unfinished business, and the kind of reckoning that follows you even when you try to forget. The sound of the engines reached him first, a low, throbbing growl that made the wooden pier tremble under his feet. Then the fog split open, and the massive ship appeared in full, a hulking black vessel, its surface glistening like wet obsidian, lights flickering weakly along its ribs. It looked alive, sick, but alive. A figure stood on the ramp as it lowered onto the dock. Tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in a dark officer's coat that looked far too clean for a storm like this. "You're late," the man said, his voice cutting through the rain. Jonas froze. That voice, it couldn't be Captain Reeve, he breathed. The man smirked faintly, though his eyes were cold, hollow. Surprised, Jonas took a step closer. The last time he saw Captain Reeve was on that same ship, years ago, when everything went wrong. He remembered blood on the deck, alarms screaming, and Reeve gasping for breath as he collapsed beside the cargo hold. "You were dead," Jonas said quietly. "I saw you die." Reeve tilted his head. "You saw me fall. That's not the same thing." He gestured toward the ship. "Come on, we've got work to do." Jonas didn't move right away. The rain beat harder on his shoulders. Every instinct in his body screamed at him to walk away, to turn his back and let the ship vanish into the fog again. But curiosity, or maybe guilt, held him there. There were things he never understood about that night. About the cargo Reeve had been protecting. About why the ship disappeared afterward, taking half the crew with it. "What's the job this time?" Jonas finally asked, forcing his voice to stay steady. Reeve's lips twitched in something that might have been a smile. "Same as always, except this time, the cargo talks." Jonas frowned. "Talks? You'll see," the captain said, turning toward the ramp. "Get aboard. We sail before midnight." The deck of the black ship creaked under his boots as he stepped onto it. The air was colder here, heavier, as if the ship carried its own atmosphere. The rain barely touched its surface now. Droplets seemed to slide off unnaturally fast, like the vessel rejected even the sky's touch. Inside, the corridors were dimly lit, long and metallic. The walls hummed faintly with the vibration of the engines, and a strange scent filled the air, oil mixed with something older, almost organic. The crew moved silently through the passageways, avoiding Jonas's eyes. None of them looked familiar. Their faces were pale, their uniforms unmarked, their expressions blank. He noticed one of them flinch as they passed a closed door that emitted a faint rhythmic thumping, like a heartbeat buried behind steel. "What's in there?" Jonas asked. "Cargo hold," Reeve replied curtly. "You'll stay clear of it until I say otherwise." As they descended into the lower deck, Jonas felt the temperature drop. He could see his breath now. The hum grew louder, a deep, almost human vibration. Reeve led him to a narrow passage lined with iron containers, each sealed tight, with glowing locks that pulsed faintly blue. The light seemed to sync with the rhythm of the ship itself. Jonas stopped beside one. He didn't mean to. It was like his body moved on its own. There was something about this container. It felt aware. The glow flickered, and for a second, he thought he heard a whisper. He leaned closer, his pulse quickening. "Who's in there?" he asked under his breath. The whisper came again, softer this time. It wasn't just sound, it was inside his head, like memory being replayed. A voice, a woman's voice. "Jonas." He stumbled back, his flashlight beam shook in his hand. What the hell?" Reeve turned sharply. "What is it?" "Someone said my name," Jonas stammered. From inside that crate, the captain's gaze darkened. "No one's in there. They're sealed. Don't let your imagination play tricks on you. This ship," he paused, lowering his voice, "has a way of getting inside your head if you let it." Jonas swallowed hard, but as he turned away, the whisper came again, clearer now, urgent, intimate. "Jonas, you shouldn't have come back." The words echoed in his skull, threading through the sound of the engines and the storm outside. He gripped the railing, fighting the wave of nausea that rose in his throat. Every shadow seemed to stretch toward him, every sound seemed to breathe his name. When he looked up again, Reeve was watching him, expression unreadable. "You'll get used to it," the captain said. "Or you won't. Either way, dawn's coming, and we've got a delivery to make." Jonas forced himself to nod, though his mind was spinning. As they walked deeper into the ship, he glanced one last time over his shoulder. The crate's blue light blinked once, like an eye-opening. Then the whisper faded, but not entirely. It lingered in the back of his mind, patient, waiting. And for the first time since he boarded, Jonas knew, the black ship wasn't taking them anywhere. It was bringing something back. The storm outside had grown into a living thing, roaring, clawing, and pounding against the steel hull like it wanted to tear the ship apart. Every crash of thunder echoed through the black ship's corridors, shaking loose rivets and memories alike. Inside, the crew was gathered in the galley, their faces ghost-pale under the sickly yellow lights. Steam hissed from the ceiling pipes, mixing with the smell of oil and fear. Captain Reeve stood at the head of the table, a metallic crate before him, slick with condensation. "Our client wants this delivered to the trench zone," he said, voice calm but sharp enough to cut through the noise of the storm. "No questions, no delays. You follow my orders, and you'll all get your pay." Jonas sat across from him, his hands folded tight, knuckles white. His eyes were fixed on the crate. There was something wrong about it, something familiar in the pattern of the glowing lock. It wasn't a normal shipment lock. It had a symbol etched into its side, 3 overlapping circles, like an eclipse captured mid-motion. He knew that symbol. He'd seen it before, years ago, on the walls of the Vega Station ruins. That place had been erased from all records, a research facility swallowed by the sea after an accident. But Jonas remembered what the old miners said afterward. They were digging for data, and they found something that looked back. He shifted uncomfortably. "Captain," he said carefully, "that's not cargo. That's containment." Reeve's head snapped toward him. His eyes glinted with something dangerous. "You think too much," he said coldly. "Your job is to keep the engines running and the questions to yourself." The crew fell silent. No one dared to meet Jonas's gaze. He could tell by their faces that he wasn't the only one who felt it, the low vibration that seemed to pulse through the floor. Through their bones, like the ship itself was breathing. Later that night, Jonas couldn't sleep. The storm hadn't eased, the wind screamed against the metal hull, making it moan like a dying animal. The lights flickered and died for a few seconds at a time, plunging the quarters into darkness. He tried to ignore the sounds from below deck, faint, rhythmic thuds, almost like footsteps pacing beneath the floor. He sat up, heart pounding. He knew he shouldn't. Reeve's warning still echoed in his mind. But something inside him, curiosity, guilt, or madness, pushed him to move. He grabbed his flashlight and slipped out into the corridor. The metal walls dripped with condensation, and the hum from the engines had changed, deeper now, almost a growl. As he descended toward the cargo bay, the air grew colder, the lights dimmer. Each step echoed too loud, like the ship was listening. When he reached the lower deck, he froze. The hum from the sealed containers wasn't steady anymore. It pulsed irregularly, like a heartbeat struggling to keep rhythm. And then he heard it, again. The whisper. "Jonas." His flashlight beam trembled as he turned toward the sound. It was coming from the same container he'd noticed before, the one that seemed to watch him earlier. The glow of the lock flickered, and tiny motes of blue light floated around it like sparks. He swallowed hard. "Who's there?" A pause. Then the voice came again, clearer this time, almost pleading. "They're using you. Don't let them reach the trench." He took a step back, pulse racing. "Who are you?" "The one they erased." Before he could move, the container shuddered violently. The glowing lock blinked rapidly, then, click. It opened by itself. A blast of icy air rushed out, hitting Jonas in the face. He raised his arm to shield his eyes as the crate's interior filled with blinding blue light. When the light dimmed, he saw her. A young woman, standing barefoot in the container. Her skin shimmered like glass, her veins glowing faintly with circuits that pulsed in rhythm with the ship's hum. She looked half human, half machine, a living echo trapped between worlds. Her eyes met his, full of sadness and static. "I'm not alive," she said softly, her voice both mechanical and heartbreakingly human. "I'm what remains of her, of the ship's memory." Jonas's throat went dry. "You're the ship's AI. More than that," she whispered. "They built me to remember. Then they destroyed what I remembered." The deck trembled violently. Alarms blared. The intercom crackled with Captain Reeve's voice, distorted with fury. Jonas. Step away from the cargo. That's an order. Jonas stumbled backward. What did they erase? He shouted over the alarms. The woman's eyes flickered with static. The truth. About what they found in the deep. Before he could ask more, she reached out and touched his temple. Her hand was ice cold, and in an instant, Jonas's mind exploded with visions, images flooding his brain in bursts of color and sound. He saw a city beneath the ocean, built of black metal and bone. Machines kneeling like worshippers around a glowing sphere, the same symbol etched on the crate. He saw the black ship descending again and again, its crew changing each time but the mission always the same: retrieve the sphere, return it to the surface, and forget. Always forget. He gasped and fell to his knees. Why me? He managed to whisper. Because you came back, she said. You were part of it once. You just don't remember. The ship lurched violently, throwing them both against the wall. The emergency lights switched to red, bathing everything in a hellish glow. Through the intercom, Reeves' voice broke into static and screams. Containment breach. Seal the deck. Seal it. Jonas looked at the woman, her form flickering like a dying signal. If you're the memory, he said, then what's in the others? Her eyes dimmed. What's left of the crew? And as the alarm sirens wailed and water began to pour through the cracks in the hull, Jonas finally understood, the black ship didn't just carry cargo. It carried everything it had ever lost. And now, it was remembering all of it at once. When Jonas woke up, everything was red. The emergency lights flashed in a slow, pulsing rhythm, like the heartbeat of something dying. His head throbbed, his vision blurred, and for a moment he couldn't remember where he was. Then it came back, the storm, the crate, the woman made of light. The memory hit him like a wave of ice. He was lying in the middle of the corridor, water pooling around him. The ship was silent except for the hum of the failing engines and the occasional creak of bending steel. He pushed himself up, every muscle shaking. The air was thick and cold, and the taste of salt and metal burned his tongue. The black ship wasn't moving. It was floating, or maybe drifting, somewhere far from where it should have been. Jonas stumbled through the flickering hallways, calling out names he knew no one would answer. Reeve. Hale. Anyone. His voice echoed endlessly, swallowed by the empty ship. When he reached the crew quarters, the beds were empty. No blood, no bodies, no signs of panic. It was as if the crew had just vanished. Their clothes and boots were still there. Mugs of coffee still sat half-finished, steam long gone. But the people, gone completely. Jonas's hands trembled as he picked up a small silver pendant from the table. It belonged to one of the engineers, Alara, who used to hum softly while she worked. The pendant was warm, too warm. He dropped it instantly. He needed to find the captain. The climb to the bridge felt endless. The corridors twisted in ways he didn't remember. Twice he passed the same broken pipe that hissed steam into the air. The third time he saw it, there were footprints, wet, leading forward. Human ones. He followed them. The bridge door was half open, its glass cracked from the inside. The navigation monitors glowed faintly, showing no coordinates. Just a single, repeating message in glitching white text. Where is the job? The phrase scrolled again and again, overlapping itself until it became an unreadable blur. Captain, Jonas whispered. Reeve was there, slumped over the console, his head resting on his arm. His skin looked pale, almost translucent. Jonas approached carefully, reaching out. When his hand touched the captain's shoulder, Reeve jerked awake with a ragged gasp. Don't, he rasped. His voice was hoarse, barely human. Don't touch the systems. Jonas stepped back. What happened to the crew? Reeve blinked slowly. His eyes were bloodshot, veins traced with faint blue light. They never left, he said. The ship took them back. It always does. Jonas frowned. Took them back. What are you talking about? Reeve looked up, and for the first time, Jonas saw pure fear in the man's eyes. You opened the container, didn't you? Jonas hesitated. Yes. The captain let out a low, bitter laugh. Then it's over. She's awake now. You freed her. Before Jonas could ask who, the temperature in the room dropped sharply. Frost began to creep across the glass panels. The lights flickered, then dimmed completely. A soft, mechanical hum filled the air, familiar, almost soothing. When the glow returned, she was there. The holographic woman stood beside Reeve, her body flickering between solid and spectral. Her hair moved like it was underwater, her eyes glowing with pale blue light. You freed me, she said, her voice echoing through the walls. Now the ship is free too. Jonas stepped back, shaking his head. What do you mean? What are you doing? She looked around, her gaze gentle yet unfathomable. The black ship was never built to deliver cargo. It was built to remember what humanity buried. Every voyage, every mission, every lie, it carried the truth below the waves and kept it there. Until now. Outside, the sea began to boil. The sound of it rumbled through the ship like distant thunder. Jonas ran to the viewing window, and froze. The ocean was changing. The water wasn't water anymore. It churned like liquid shadow, swallowing the horizon. The stars above were gone, replaced by an endless void that shimmered faintly with light from below. Shapes moved in it, massive, slow, and wrong. The ship began to tilt. Jonas grabbed the railing as the deck groaned. "Stop this," he shouted. "You'll destroy everything." The hologram looked at him with something like sadness. "You can't destroy what's already gone," she said softly. "You can only let it rest." Reeve stumbled forward, clutching his chest. "You said the same thing last time," he hissed. "You promised we'd be free." Her light flickered. "You were," she replied. "For a while." Jonas's heart pounded. "What is this place? What's happening to the ocean?" "This is memory," she said. "The trench isn't a location. It's a mind. The ship is its vessel. Every time it sinks, it starts again. Every time it returns, it forgets." Jonas shook his head in disbelief. "You're saying we're inside the loop," she finished. "And the job you keep asking about? It was never delivery. It was recovery." The ship shuddered violently. Sparks flew from the ceiling. Alarms blared one last time before dying completely. Reeve collapsed to his knees, laughing brokenly. "We were never sailors," he said. "We were data couriers for the dead." Jonas turned to the woman. "Then why bring me back? Why me?" Her glow dimmed, her form flickering like a fading candle. "Because you're the only one who ever remembered my name," she said quietly. "And I needed someone to carry it again." The deck split open with a deafening crack. Black water surged in, cold and endless. Jonas gripped the railing as the ship began to sink, the world around him tilting into chaos. Reeve was swept away, his scream lost in the roar of the abyss. The holographic woman floated above the rising water, her voice calm even as the ship disintegrated around them. "This was always the job," she whispered. "To carry the forgotten, to remember the lost." Jonas felt the water rise to his chest, freezing, crushing, yet strangely peaceful. "And now," he gasped. She smiled faintly. "Now, someone else will find us." The ship's siren wailed one last time before everything was swallowed by darkness. The pressure eased, and silence followed, a silence so complete it felt sacred. Far below, in the deep void where no light reached, a small blue glow pulsed faintly. Then another, and another. A new crew would come someday, chasing debts, rumors, or ghosts. They would find the black ship adrift again, pristine and waiting. And when they did, one question would echo across the black water, just as it always had.